The now closed Tushino Airfield was a former general aviation airfield located in Tushino, northwest Moscow, Russia. During the Cold War, this was the site of military exercises showcasing the latest in Soviet innovation. These exercises were held on Soviet Air Fleet Day for decades. The air show continues to this day but now takes place at the Zhukovsky International Airport. On September 28, 1991, at the behest of Mikhail Gorbachev, Tushino Airfield was the site of the legendary Monsters of Rock concert. The free event was co-headlined by AC/DC and Metallica, with support from the Black Crowes, Pantera, and local Russian heavy metal band EST. Concert organizers initially expected a crowd of less than 100,000, but official estimates placed the crowd between 800,000 and 1 million attendees. Unofficially, the crowd was approximately 1.6 million. While local militia and 11,000 members of the Soviet army were called in to help police the event, the footage shows many of the soldiers reveling with fellow concertgoers. Others were engaged in clashes with attendees, resulting in hundreds of injuries from police action. There were 53 deaths reported. Bear in mind, this all took place mere months before the collapse of the Soviet Union. Nowadays, the grounds are the site of the Okrity Arena, the home of FC Spartak Moscow, one of Russia's leading football clubs. Exhibition of Achievements of National Economy is a permanent general-purpose trade show and amusement park in Moscow, Russia. Between 1991 and 2014 it was also called the All-Russia Exhibition Center. It is a state joint stock company. VDNKH is located in Ostankinsky district of Moscow, less than a kilometer from Ostankino Tower. It is served by VDNKH subway station, as well as by Moscow monorail. Cosmonauts Alley and the Worker and Kalkor's woman's statue are situated just outside the main entrance to VDNKH. It also borders Moscow Botanical Garden and a smaller Ostankino Park, and in recent years the three parks served as a united park complex. The Battle of Moscow was a military campaign that consisted of two periods of strategically significant fighting on a 600-kilometer sector of the Eastern Front during World War II. It took place between October 1941 and January 1942. The Soviet defensive effort frustrated Hitler's attack on Moscow, the capital and largest city of the Soviet Union. Moscow was one of the primary military and political objectives for Axis forces in their invasion of the Soviet Union. The German strategic offensive, named Operation Typhoon, called for two pincer offensives, one to the north of Moscow against the Kalinin front by the 3rd and 4th Panzer Armies, simultaneously severing the Moscow-Leningrad Railway, and another to the south of Moscow Oblast against the Western Front south of Tula, by the 2nd Panzer Army, while the 4th Army advanced directly towards Moscow from the west. Initially, the Soviet forces conducted a strategic defense of the Moscow Oblast by constructing 3 defensive belts, deploying newly raised reserve armies, and bringing troops from the Siberian and Far Eastern military districts. As the German offensives were halted, a Soviet strategic counteroffensive and smaller-scale offensive operations forced the German armies back to the positions around the cities of Arel, Vyazma, and Vitebsk, and nearly surrounded 3 German armies. It was a major setback for the Germans, and the end of the idea of a quick German victory in the USSR. As a result of the failed offensive, Field Marshal Walther von Brauchitsch was dismissed as Supreme Commander of the German Army, with Hitler replacing him in the position. The Red Army's winter counteroffensive drove the Wehrmacht from Moscow, but the city was still considered to be threatened, with the front line relatively close. Because of this, the Moscow theater remained a priority for Stalin, who at first appeared to be in shock due to the initial German success. In particular, the initial Soviet advance was unable to reduce the Rzhev salient, held by several divisions of Army Group Center. Immediately after the Moscow counteroffensive, a series of Soviet attacks were attempted against the salient, each time with heavy losses on both sides. By early 1943, the Wehrmacht had to disengage from the salient as the whole front was moving west. Nevertheless, the Moscow front was not finally secured until October 1943, when Army Group Center was decisively repulsed from the Smolensk land bridge and from the left shore of the Upper Dnieper at the end of the Second Battle of Smolensk. The Shahoff radio tower, also known as the Shabalovka Tower, is a broadcasting tower deriving from the Russian avant-garde in Moscow designed by Vladimir Shahoff. The 160-meter-high freestanding steel diagrid structure was built in the period 1920 to 1922, during the Russian Civil War. Vladimir Shahoff invented the world's first hyperboloid structure in the year 1890. Later he wrote a book, Rafters, in which he proved that the triangular shapes are 20 to 25% heavier than the arched ones with a ray grating. After that, Shahoff filed a number of patents for a diagrid. He aimed not only to achieve greater strength and rigidity of the structure, but also ease and simplicity through the use of as little building material as possible. The first diagrid tower was built for the All-Russia exhibition in Nizhny Novgorod in 1896, and later was bought by Yuri Nechayev-Maltsov, a well-known manufacturer in the city. Shahoff was responsible for constructions of new types of lighthouses, masts, water towers and transmission towers. The broadcasting tower at Shabalovka is a diagrid structure in the form of a rotated hyperboloid. The Kodinka radio station, built in 1914, could no longer handle the increasing amount of radiograms. On July 30, 1919, Vladimir Lenin signed a decree of the Council of Workers' and Peasants' Defense, which demanded to install, in an extremely urgent manner, a radio station equipped with the most advanced and powerful devices and machines, to ensure the security of the country and allow constant communication with other republics. Tower designing was started immediately across many bureaus. Later that year, Shahoff's construction office won a competition. Shahoff's engineering talents had become popular against the background of a shortage of metal in the country during World War I and the Russian Civil War. He often used materials from disassembled bridges and factories. The complexity of the work was also determined by the lack of qualified workers. After World War I, laborers had to be trained directly at the construction site. The planned height of the new 9-sectioned hyperbolic tower was 350 meters taller than the Eiffel Tower, which was taken into consideration when creating the plan with an estimated mass of 2,200 tons. However, in the context of the Civil War and the lack of resources, the project had to be revised. The height was reduced to 148.5 meters, the weight to 240 tons. Tsaritsino is a palace museum and park reserve in the south of Moscow. It was founded in 1776 by the order of Catherine the Great. The palace has lent its name to the surrounding district and the nearby metro station. The estate is known from the late 16th century, when it belonged to Tsaritsa Irina, sister of Tsar Boris Godunov. At that time it was called Bogorodskoy. In the 17th century it belonged to the Streshnovs and then to the Galitzines. Smaller hall inside the Grand Palace. In 1775, the estate was bought by Empress Catherine the Great, who happened to be passing through the area and fell in love with the picturesque beauty of the land. It received its present name, which means Tsaritsas. In 1776-85 architect Vasily Bazhenev built a palace for the empress there. When the palace was almost complete, the empress visited Tsaritsino to inspect it. She declared the rooms to be too cramped and dark, and the palace unlivable. As a result, Catherine ordered the palace to be torn down. The remnants of the foundation of Brezhnev's original palace are still visible in the park. Palace front. In 1786, Matvey Kazakov presented new architectural plans, which were approved by Catherine. Kazakov supervised the construction project until 1796, when the construction was interrupted by Catherine's death. Her successor, Emperor Paul I of Russia, showed no interest in the palace, and the massive structure remained unfinished and abandoned for more than 200 years, until it was completed and extensively reworked in 2005-07. Currently, in Tsaritsino there are a history and architecture museum, a landscape park with an adjacent forest, an art museum, the Burulayovo Dendropark, and a cascade of the Tsaritsino ponds. It is managed by the Tsaritsino Museum Reserve, founded in 1984. Moscow State University is a coeducational and public research university located in Moscow, Russia. It was founded on the 23rd of January 1755 by Mikhail Lomonosov. During the Soviet period, MSU was renamed after Lomonosov in 1940 and was then known as Lomonosov University. Its current rector is Viktor Sadovniky. Moscow State University has educated many notable alumni, including leaders of the Soviet Union and other governments, as well as a patriarch of Russian Orthodox Church. As of 2019, 13 Nobel laureates, 6 Fields Medal winners and 1 Turing Award winner have been affiliated with the university. According to the 2019 Q's World University Rankings, it is the highest-ranking Russian educational institution, and according to the Nature Index, it is highest-ranking Russian university for research output. The university includes 15 research institutes, 43 faculties, more than 300 departments and 6 branches. Mercury City Tower is a supertall skyscraper located on Plot 14 in the Moscow International Business Center in Moscow, Russia. Occupying a total area of 173,960 square meters, the mixed-use building houses offices, apartments, a fitness center, and retail stores. Rising 338.8 meters tall, the Mercury City Tower was formerly the tallest building of Russia and Europe, having surpassed the Moscow Tower of the neighboring City of Capitals complex as the tallest of Russia and the Shard in London as Europe's tallest building. The Mercury City Tower kept this record from late 2012 to the summer of 2014, in which it was surpassed by the South Tower of the neighboring Oko complex as the tallest building in Russia and Europe. The Cathedral of Christ the Savior is a Russian Orthodox cathedral in Moscow, Russia, on the northern bank of the Moscow River, a few hundred meters southwest of the Kremlin. With an overall height of 103 meters, it is the third tallest Orthodox Christian church building in the world, after the People's Salvation Cathedral in Bucharest, Romania, and Saints Peter and Paul Cathedral in St. Petersburg, Russia. The current church is the second to stand on this site. The original church, built during the 19th century, took more than 40 years to build, and was the scene of the 1882 world premiere of the 1812 overture composed by Tchaikovsky. It was destroyed in 1931 on the order of Soviet leader Joseph Stalin. The demolition was supposed to make way for a colossal palace of the Soviets to house the country's legislature, the Supreme Soviet of the USSR. Construction started in 1937 but was halted in 1941 when Germany invaded the Soviet Union during World War II. Its steel frame was disassembled the following year, and the palace was never built. Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the current church was rebuilt on the site between 1995 and 2000. Red Square is a city square in Moscow, Russia. It separates the Kremlin, the former royal citadel and now the official residence of the President of Russia, from a historic merchant quarter known as Cathedral. Red Square is often considered to be the central square of Moscow since the city's major streets, which connect to Russia's major highways, originate in the square. During the Soviet era, Red Square maintained its significance, becoming a focal point for the new state. Besides being the official address of the Soviet government, it was renowned as a showcase for military parades from 1919 onward. Lenin's mausoleum would from 1924 onward be a part of the square complex, and also as the grandstand for important dignitaries in all national celebrations. In the 1930s, Kazan Cathedral and Iverskaya Chapel with the Resurrection Gates were demolished to make room for heavy military vehicles driving through the square. There were plans to demolish Moscow's most recognized building, St. Basil's Cathedral, as well to make way for a larger Red Square, as well as the State Historical Museum. The legend is that Lazar Kaganovich, Stalin's associate and director of the Moscow Reconstruction Plan, prepared a special model of Red Square, in which the cathedral could be removed, and brought it to Stalin to show how the cathedral was an obstacle for parades and traffic. But when he jerked the cathedral out of the model, Stalin objected with his rather famous quote, "Lazar, put it back." However, no documented evidence exists of this encounter. In 1963, a group of African students organized a protest on Red Square in response to the alleged murder of a medical student named Edmund Asser Addo. This was the first recorded political protest on Red Square since the late 1920s. On May 28, 1987, a West German pilot named Matthias Rust landed a Cessna F-172P light aircraft at St. Basil next to Red Square, causing a major scandal in the Soviet Air Defense Forces. In 1990, the Kremlin and Red Square were among the first sites in the USSR added to UNESCO's World Heritage List. Red Square has also served as a venue for high-profile concerts. Linkin Park, The Prodigy, Tattoo, Shakira, Scorpions, Paul McCartney, Roger Waters, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and other celebrities performed there. For the new year 2006, 2007, and 2008 celebrations, a skating rink was set up on Red Square. Paul McCartney's performance there was a historic moment for many, as the Beatles were banned in the Soviet Union, preventing any live performances there of any of the Beatles. The Soviet Union also banned the sales of Beatles records. While McCartney's performance was historic, he was not the first Beatle to perform in Russia. Former Beatle Ringo Starr and his all-star band performed at Moscow's Russia Hall in August 1998. Moscow is the capital and the most populous city of Russia, standing on the Moscow River in the central part of western Russia. Moscow's population is estimated at 12.6 million residents within the city proper, while over 17 million residents in the urban area, and over 20 million residents in the Moscow metropolitan area. The city covers an area of 2,511 square kilometers, while the urban area covers 5,891 square kilometers, and the metropolitan area covers over 26,000 square kilometers. Moscow is among the world's largest cities, being the most populous city entirely within Europe, the most populous urban area in Europe, the most populous metropolitan area in Europe, and also the largest city on the European continent. Originally established in 1147 as a minor town, Moscow grew to become a prosperous and powerful city that served as the capital of the Grand Duchy that bears its namesake. When the Grand Duchy of Moscow evolved into the Tsardom of Russia, Moscow still remained as the political and economic center for most of the Tsardom's history. When the Tsardom was reformed into the Russian Empire, the capital was moved from Moscow to St. Petersburg, diminishing the influence of the city. The capital was then moved back to Moscow following the Russian Revolution, and the city was brought back as the political center of the Russian SFSR and the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union dissolved, Moscow remained as the capital city of the contemporary and newly established Russian Federation. As the northernmost and coldest megacity in the world, and with a history that dates over 8 centuries, Moscow is governed as a federal city that serves as the political, economic, cultural, and scientific center of Russia and Eastern Europe. As an alpha world city, Moscow has one of the world's largest urban economies, and is one of the most expensive cities in the world, and is also one of the fastest growing tourist destinations in the world. Moscow is home to the third highest number of billionaires of any city in the world, and has the highest number of billionaires of any city in Europe. Luzhny Ostrov National Park Island is the second oldest national park of Russia. It is located in Moscow and Moscow Oblast. It is the largest urban park in Europe. Luzhny Ostrov is one of a few locations in Moscow where one can see wild animals in their natural environment, including the moose. In total there are 44 species of mammals and 170 bird species, 9 amphibian species, 5 reptile species, and 19 fish species. Luzhny Ostrov National Park was created in 1983 on the land which since ancient times served as the strictly guarded hunting area of Russian grand princes and tsars. Its territory was declared reserved in 1799, the first forest management was established here in 1842, and the idea of the creation of the national park was expressed as early as 1909.